Hi and welcome back. And in the previous video you saw us creating our layout, adding guides, and then adding some basic typography to it using the guidelines that we had created. So holding Control and semicolon, we'll turn on those lines so we can see how we're beautifully lined up. But what happens if you want to do something a little bit more adventurous? Well, what I've got here is a background image that we're going to pretend that I've taken, which is going to go in the background of my magazine article. So I simply drop it into Photoshop, and then using the handles that come on it, I can resize this image. I think what I'll need to do is zoom out first, so holding Alt, scroll back on my scroll wheel. I'll actually get rid of that paragraph thing for now so I can see what I'm doing. And then making sure that we have the corners locked so we don't change the shape of our image. I'm going to drag this here out, and don't worry too much about how pixelated it looks. I'm going to drop it over here on the left hand side of the page. In fact, let's have it so that it interferes with that text a little bit, shall we? Wonderful. So when I've got it in the right sort of place, actually it's not going to work unless I cover the whole page, is it? It's going to look really weird. So I'll have that behind the headline as well. And we hit our tick. Photoshop will resample that image as best as it can. And then we're just going to drag it and drop it below the headline. So Control 0 zooms us back in. This is looking great, but this text here looks a bit of a mess because it's going over this image in the background. What would be lovely is if this text could somehow come around the outside here. Well, guess what? It can. So I'm just going to turn that layer off, and I'm going to show you another tool that you're going to need in order to do this. And that tool here is the pen tool. So using P, all we're going to be doing is the simple pen tool. How does it work? Well, we choose where we want our text to go. So I think I'm going to wrap it properly around here. So I'm going to start here, and I just simply click once. Don't hold the button down, because if you do, you'll start using the freeform curve tool. And then I'm going to come over to this intersection here. I'm going to click again, and you'll see how I'm starting to actually draw a bounding box. Instead of using the drag and drop feature from the type tool, we're essentially defining that outline using the pen tool. So I'm going to click here, and I've got a nice shape for this column. I'm going to take it up to the bottom of the pizza. But now what I want to do is just make a series of clicks around the outside here. And you can use the freeform curve tool if you wanted to, but we'll have to save that for another video because I want to get through this as quick as possible. And we're going to go around the outside. And up to the top. And what you see now is that we have drawn what's called a path in Photoshop. Why do we care about this path in Photoshop? Well, it's going to be really, really useful for us, because I'm going to take my horizontal type tool. I'm going to come into this area. I'm going to hit Control A to select all of that text and copy it with Control C. Now go back to my type tool, and making sure that I have my horizontal type tool selected, I'm going to click inside. You'll notice how I get a wavy line here, wavy line here. I'm inside with that full circle this area. So once I click here, I'm telling it that I want to insert text inside here, and I'm just going to hit Control V to paste my text, and you'll see when I hit the tick how it has beautifully inserted all of my text into this column, and it has curved it perfectly for me exactly along that blue line. And that's called using paths to insert text. And if you like this idea of using paths to create shapes in your text, you can also use the pen tool. If I click here and I click and hold instead of letting go, I can actually drag this around these handles out, and they will give me a curved line, which I can then take my text tool, go into my horizontal type tool, and I can type on that line just simply by clicking on it. And you notice it adds the lorem ipsum text for me, so I can see what it's going to look like. And we can grab hold of these handles here to make the text get bigger, smaller, move it up and down on the line. So I hope that gave you some good ideas for how you can do the layout in your magazine. And don't forget, you can always put breaks in these columns to add additional images. And now you know how to wrap your text around your image. There's no excuse for having boring blocks of text everywhere. I'll see you in the next video.